Today we are going to investigate how place value is arranged and what it means. Today we're going to be looking at decimals and whole numbers. For fourth grade, we must understand that every whole number is written as a fraction and a decimal, even though you may not see them that way. Take, for example, the number 1. If I write 1 right here, there are examples of having no tenths and no hundredths. For the same reason, we would have no tenths, and we would have no hundredths, and we would have no thousands, and so on. So we must understand that although we don't see them, they still exist. Similarly, if I write the number 1, that would mean that it's 1 over 1. That's 1 out of the one piece that we have. If I had 21, that would be the same as saying we have 21 ones. I can even say for 721, that would be 721 ones. If I were to now look at just the whole numbers with a decimal, I can see that this might be written as 1, but I also have, in conjunction with it, a 2 out of the 10 pieces I could have. So that's why we write tenths as a decimal, 0.1, and as a fraction, 1 out of 10. Similarly with hundredths, we can see that it's out of 1 in the hundredths place, and that would mean it's 1 out of 100. Now there are some definitions we need to know before we move any further. The first one is a place. The place is just the position of a digit on a number. For example, I might have a 6 right here. That would mean that I have a 6 in the thousands place. And so therefore the place is the thousand. A digit is what I just wrote before, a 6. So what I could say is I have the digit 6 in the thousands place. Moving on, I have a value. I can have the thousands place occupied by the digit 6, which now means I can write that as a number, meaning it is worth 6,000. So the value of this digit in the thousands place is the number 6,000. Then I look at periods. This is the decimals. This is where you would see less than a whole number. Here in green are the ones places. This is where you can have 1 1, or you can have 5 ones, or you can have 15 ones, which would equal 110 and 5 ones. Or you can say that I have 561 ones. The next period is thousands. This is where I could write I have, let's say, for example, 23,000, which means I have 23 1,000s. If I were to write it here, I have 416 1,000s. So the number would be written as 416,000. Millions, it's no different. I have a 5, this digit 5 is in the place of the 10 millions, which means it has a value of 50 million, and it's in the period of millions. Finally, I have a whole number and I have a decimal. As we said, everything that is to the left of the decimal are whole numbers. Everything that's to the right is a decimal number. A decimal number is less than a whole number. And a whole number means it could be counted per unit. That's what we added earlier. It can have 4 ones, which would be 4 over 1. I have 4 of those ones. If I were to write it as a decimal and say that I have 4 tenths, that would be written as 4 out of the 10 pieces I could have. If I have 4 out of the 10 pieces, that means I don't have those pieces. I only have 4 of those 10. Therefore, the whole group is not complete. Let's do some practice. The digits that are in this number right here, I can see that there is a 4. I see that there's a 3. In fact, I have multiple 2s. I have a 1. I have a 7. I have a 6. And I have another 8. There we go. So these are all of the digits I see. If I look at the place that they're in, I see that I do have a 10 millions place. I have a millions place. I have a 100,000s place. I have a 10,000s place, a 1,000s place, a hundreds, tens, ones, and tenths place. I can look at the value each one is worth. So the 10 millions place would be a value of 40 million, as I see right here. I then have a 3 in the millions place, which means that digit holds a value of 3 million. The 2 is in the 100,000s, therefore it holds a value of a 200,000. And then I have a 20,000 because that 2 is also in the 10,000s place, so that digit, although the same as the previous, holds a different value. I then see that the 1 is in the thousands place, which is worth a value of 1,000. And then I also have a 100, so that's 700. I also have a 6 in the tens, that's 60. I also have a 3 in the ones, that's a worth 3. And then I have an 8 in the tenths, which is less than a whole number. So I have 8 out of the 10 pieces that could fit there. We call that 8 tenths. If I were to read this number as it was, it would be read as first 43,221,763. And now there's a key word. That decimal is a conjunctive mathematical term. It means I'm adding something that doesn't fit with the other group. In this case, it's the decimal, the one that's less than a whole number. So if I were to read this again fluently, I would have 43,221,763 and, for the decimal, 8 tenths. If I were to look at what periods they occupy, I see that the period is in the millions, the thousands, as well as the ones, and then I also have a decimal. If I were to look at what kind of whole numbers there are, I could see that 43 million is one. I have a 221,763. All of those are whole numbers, even separated or as a whole number just in the ones place. Meaning I could have 43,221,763 ones. If I were to look at just the decimals, I only have one decimal place occupied, and it's in the tenths. So therefore the digit 8 in the tenths place holds a value of 8 tenths. Therefore the number is 8 tenths. Let's do some practice. If you have your notebook, you can write these on the right side. Let's take this one for example. A town had 3 and 14 hundredths inches of rain during June. What's the value of the digit in the tenths place? So we could just write this out. We know that we have the number 3. The word and means it's a conjunctive mathematical affiliation with the whole number and decimal. So therefore, the and separates the decimal. 14 hundredths. That means I have 14 hundredths. So I just have to find where answer this is, but only for the tenths place. So therefore, I'm looking and I see this is the ones, this is the tenths, and this is the hundredths. So I really only care about that 1 which is right there. So therefore, J is the answer. People in the United States drink about 129,600,000 bottles of water each day. What is the value of the digit 1 in this number? So I have 129 in the millions place. This millions is not just in that period, but I have to look and see what part of the period it's in. This is the millions, 10 millions, 100 millions. So we have to look. Is this the 100 millions? Well, we can see that this is the ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, and finally the 100,000s. But that is not the 100 millions. So D is wrong. We know that this is in the thousands, so that's wrong. This is just 100, which is here. We can see it's not. And then this must be the answer because this is in the millions. Yolanda wrote a number. The digit in the millions place is 8. The digit in the thousands place is 6. And the digit in the hundredths place is a 2. Now we see that this is thus, which means the decimal. So the hundredths is in the decimal place. I can rewrite this and say that I have an 8 in the millions. That means 1 millions. And as well as a decimal, and I know it goes to the hundredths. So therefore the 8 is going to be in the millions. The 6 will be in the thousands. And the 2 is going to be in the hundredths. What number could she write? I only have to look and see these qualifiers. Do they fit what's on my answer choices? Let's take one at a time. I have an 8 here, and that is not in the millions place. That is in the 10 millions place. So that one is automatically wrong. I don't need to look at the rest of it. I can see that this 8 is in the millions place, this 8 is in the millions place, and this 8 is in the millions place. So therefore, all three could be correct. If I look now at the 6 in the thousands place, I can see this 6 is in the thousands, this one's in the thousands, and this one's in the thousands. So I know that D is not correct because there is no 6 in this thousands. It's a 4. I continue on. My next clue is the 200ths. I only have B and C to look at. This 2 is in the tenths place. This 2 is in the hundredths. Therefore, C is the correct answer. The counter shows the number of times a website has been visited. What's the value of the digit 4 in this number? So we know that a digit is just a symbol. 4 is the symbol. We're looking at the value, which means I need to know what place that 4 is in. The 4 is actually in the thousands. And for it to be in the thousands, that means it holds a value of 4 of those thousands, which means it holds a value of 4,000. Therefore, because this is 400, 40, and 4, our answer is not here. Della wrote a number, and there's that number, just like we did previously. I know that it's in the hundredths, a tenths, which means both decimal places will be filled out, and it goes to the thousands. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. So the hundredths place is going to occupy a 4, the tenths place is a 2, and the 7 is in the thousands. I just have to look and see, do I have 24 hundredths? This one has 24 hundredths. This one has 24 hundredths. So the answer could be F or J. However, this is a whole number. So there are no decimals there, which means this could not be our answer. I also don't see 24 hundredths there. I see 4 hundredths. This one could also not be our answer. So if I look and see what other one I have, it's the 7 in the thousands place, which means this 7 in the thousands place is the correct one because the 7 here is in the tens place. And this one does not have a 7 in the tens place. If you need to replay this video to make sure that you understand today's lesson, you can do so. If not, continue practicing, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.